Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has allegedly vetoed and blocked Azerbaijan's entry in the SCO during the recent summit. Azerbaijani media is full of reports how Prime Minister Modi refused to allow Baku's formal entry. Azeri outlet A-News-Z claimed, quote, India has once again blocked Azerbaijan's application for full membership in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Remember, they use the words once again. Now, New Delhi is annoyed with Turkey and Azerbaijan's support to Islamabad during Operation Sindoor and thus compromising national defense in the recent India-Pakistan war. Not just that, these images now have created a buzz on social media. Here we see Prime Minister Modi warmly greeting Belarusian President Lukashenko. Then Turkey's Erdogan moved towards Prime Minister Modi for a handshake, with Prime Minister Modi then giving Erdogan a pat on the back, like a senior would do to his junior colleague or a master of geopolitics would pat a pupil. Social media users are calling this Modi's power play in body language. Ironically, this is Erdogan's trademark. He used body language multiple times to show public spat with France's Macron especially. Here we see Erdogan pinching Macron's finger. Now this happened in the EPC summit in Albania in full public view. And here is Erdogan physically pulling Macron to the other side for a photo. But here is Erdogan now getting a pat on the back by Indian Prime Minister Modi. Let's be clear, this was a formal and even a friendly gesture by Prime Minister Modi and not at all an aggressive posturing. In fact, the handshake showed familiarity between the two leaders. However, Modi's real power play was behind the scenes when India reportedly vetoed Azerbaijan's formal entry into the SCO despite backing by Pakistan, Turkey and even China. Modi has another trump card against Baku when needed, India's strategic ally Russia, with tensions rising between Moscow and Baku recently. Now, there is no confirmation from India's side on blocking Azerbaijan's entry. These are claims made by Azeri media after being denied an official entry in the SCO.
In fact, Aliyev was quoted in a TOI report saying, quote, in response to Azerbaijan's support to Pakistan, India has attempted to retaliate against Azerbaijan in international organizations. This holds no significance for Azerbaijan as brotherly relations take precedence above all, unquote.
But does India have reason enough to block it? Certainly it does. Will India allow Baku's entry in the future? Yes, it can. However, currently, ties are sour and hit rock bottom after Azeri backing to a terror state like Pakistan in the recent short war with India. India's resolve against terror sympathizers has only strengthened after the Pahalgam terror attack when a Pakistani-backed group killed 26 Indian tourists, mostly Hindus in Kashmir. Prime Minister Modi's government has declared any terror attack by Pakistani groups inside India will be considered an act of war and Indian military will retaliate against terror groups as well as their terror backers, which is the Pakistani Intelligence Agency and even the Pak military.
At the SCO, with Pak Prime Minister in audience, Indian Prime Minister Modi elaborated, quote, this attack was not only an attack on India's soul, but an open challenge to all the countries that believe in humanity. In such a situation, the question arises whether a few countries supporting terror openly should be accepted by us. We should speak in a unified front that no double standards are accepted in terror.
Despite Turkish drones and Azerbaijani diplomatic support, Indian Air Force and Indian Army destroyed 9 terror camps in 9 different Pakistani cities. Indian Air Force then shot down 6 to 7 Pakistani fighter jets as part of Operation Sindoor. Indian jets then hit at least 10 Pakistani air bases with BrahMos and Scalp missiles, as confirmed by verified satellite images. The hammering was so severe that Pakistan dropped its demand for Indus Water Treaty resumption and then called India to request a ceasefire. Of course, Modi also sent a loud and clear message to Turkey for supporting Pakistan when the Indian Prime Minister visited Cyprus and even overlooked the border in Nicosia, facing Turkish-backed northern Cyprus, which remains under indirect Turkish occupation. The news of Cyprus being interested in India's lethal BrahMos supersonic cruise missile also rattled Turkish social media users, and rightly so. With even one hit, an Indian BrahMos can send any Turkish warship to the bottom of the Mediterranean. Indian BrahMos with either Greece or Cyprus would change the power balance in Turkey's backyard. Of course, India backs Cyprus and its people. In fact, no organization, not even the United Nations, not even the European Union, recognizes Turkish-backed northern Cyprus. With Modi's Cyprus visit and now the SCO summit power play, one thing is clear. If you back Pakistan against India, then Bharat will now talk back in the same language. The Modi government has made it clear. No one will be allowed to cross India's red line. No one will be allowed to interfere in the Kashmir conflict. Not Turkey's Erdogan, not Azerbaijan's Aliyev, and even not US President Donald Trump.
The return of the stolen part of Kashmir, which is on the under illegal Pakistani occupation.
Since Operation Sindoor, India-Turkey relations have deteriorated sharply. India's Deputy Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Rahul Singh, gave brief information around Operation Sindoor to the world. He mentioned that there were 3 adversaries and 1 border, confirming that China and Turkey's participation in that conflict. He revealed, in the last 5 years, 81% of the military hardware with Pakistan is Chinese. Turkey also played an important role in providing the type of support it did. They gave Bayraktar and numerous other drones." Unquote. Turkey's intervention in the India-Pakistan dispute has created diplomatic distancing, economic decoupling, and rising social mistrust. Turkey's open support for Pakistan involved the supply of more than 350 drones, loitering munitions, and even some troops, was viewed by India as a direct challenge to its sovereignty. India ended security clearance of Turkish airport ground handling company Celebi over national security concerns, and Air India also began switching away from Turkish maintenance providers. Bilateral trade declined sharply, with Indian exports to Turkey dropping from $6.6 billion to $5.2 billion and imports falling from $3.7 billion to just $2.8 billion year on year. Travel to Turkey saw a 60% drop in bookings and a 250% increase in cancellations after the India-Pakistan war, fueled by public boycott movement against Turkey for its support of Pakistani terror. Indian universities, notably IIT Bombay, IIT Roorkee, and even Jamia Millia, suspended collaborations with Turkish counterparts. Indian merchants notably reduced imports of Turkish goods like marbles and apples. What angered India was that countries like Turkey and Azerbaijan did not condemn the Pakistani terror network behind the Pahalgam attack, but dared to criticize the Indian anti-terror operation inside Pakistan. Turkish Foreign Ministry claimed India's Operation Sindoor, quote, raises the risk of an all-out war. We condemn such provocative steps, unquote. Well, how about first condemning the ideology behind such cowardly terror attacks? India hit back and asked Turkey to urge Pakistan to end its long-standing support to terror. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal claimed, quote, we expect Turkey to strongly urge Pakistan to end its support to cross-border terror and take credible and verifiable actions against the terror ecosystem it has harbored for decades. Relations are built on the basis of sensitivities to each other's concerns, unquote. So during Operation Sindoor, Turkey supplied over 350 drones and loitering munitions to Pakistan to be used against India. These including the Bayraktar TB2, Yeeha drones and Songar models for surveillance, target designation and kamikaze-style attacks on Indian military positions. Turkish military advisors reportedly helped coordinate Pakistani drone attacks, with 2 Turkish operatives reportedly killed in Indian military counterattack. highlighting their direct involvement. Nearly all of these drones were shot down by Indian Air Defense Grid, with Indian NSA Ajit Doval challenging anyone to show even one image of any damage to Indian military installations. Under Erdogan's foreign policy approach, Turkey and Pakistan have deepened their relationship into a formal military partnership involving defense manufacturing, joint training programs, collaborative operations, and broader strategic coordination. Erdogan has frequently highlighted the Kashmir issue on global platforms, especially at the United Nations General Assembly in August 2019, which angered India. Indian Ministry of External Affairs hit back, saying Erdogan's remarks reflected no understanding of the history of Kashmir and that they will have strong implications on India's relations with Turkey. And India is right. The entire Jammu and Kashmir has always been part of Indian culture and history. In fact, the capital of Kashmir, Srinagar, was built and established by Indian Emperor Ashoka in 250 BC, when the concept of Pakistan did not even exist. Even in 1947, the ruler of Jammu and Kashmir legally and lawfully acceded to India. So entire Kashmir, even today, legally is Indian territory. As Indian Foreign Minister Jaishankar explains, the Kashmir issue will only be solved when Pakistan vacates illegally occupied POK. However, countries like Pakistan, backed by Turkey and Azerbaijan, continue to peddle religious extremism in the garb of freedom struggle, and no one is buying it anymore. In FY 23-24, India exported goods worth $6.6 billion to Turkey and imported $3.7 billion, yielding a considerable surplus in trade. In FY 24-25, Indian exports to Turkey dropped to $5.2 billion, about 1.5% of India's total exports, while Turkish exports to India decreased to $2.8 billion, which is just about 0.5% of India's total imports. India maintains a strong trade surplus with Turkey despite the confrontation, but Turkish exports to India have now declined by over 17% due to diplomatic and economic strains. The trade decline was driven by sustained geopolitical tensions after Operation Sindoor and calls for boycott of Turkish goods and tourism, affecting key sectors such as marble, apples, and aviation-related contracts. In June 2025, only 24,250 Indian tourists visited Turkey, marking a 36% decrease from 38,300 in June 2024. In May 2025, witnessed a 24% decline in Indian tourists visiting Turkey. Now, with Modi's power play against Turkey and Azerbaijan at the SCO summit, it seems the standoff is set to continue. Do you support Prime Minister Modi's tough stance against Turkey and Azerbaijan for backing Pakistani terror? Leave a comment with your opinion in the like button and subscribe to Inconnect News.